Ángela, Fundación Plan has been improving the living conditions and access to education of Colombian children, focusing particularly on girls and women in vulnerable contexts, specifically where Afro-Colombian and indigenous communities live. As we aim to get more women in leadership roles, what do you consider are the main barriers, and how do we address these? What role does caregiving play in this whole process?
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, everyone. I really want to thank UNESCO for having me on this panel, and especially because I just love being in panels where young women are speaking, and being with Ángela in this panel, and she's called Ángela. It makes us even more special. I am super excited because I do believe that we need to hear more the voices of the young people, and we need to have them participate. And the second reason why I'm very, very happy to be in this panel is because of the report we've just been presented by Anna. So thank you, Anna. And I think I'm gonna, of all the interesting things, and we could go on for hours with this amazing topic about fostering women's leadership, I want to double click on what Anna mentioned in the report, which is heavily related to the participation of women in the labor force and in leadership positions, but specifically the relationship between the difficulty of women accessing the labor force because they're mostly involved in the care economy. So we have the data I have is from Colombia. Sorry, I have no data from other places, but I want to focus a little bit on that. And if we talk about the number of hours that women invest in caretaking activities during the day, around 32% of women they invest 8 hours of work per day in this kind of activities, versus only 10% of men that invest this same amount of time during their day. And if we're talking about child rearing and activities involved with those younger than 5 years of age, we look at for Colombia, the amount of hours that women spend is 8 hours, is 74%, versus only 22% of men spending this amount of hours with children younger than 5 years of age. And this is a huge sector of the economy, and I think that this is something that we cannot forget or let out of our sights, because if this was not only unpaid work, if we really quantified the estimates done by the official authorities in Colombia tell us that this sector of the economy would amount to 20% of GDP. And this compared to 17%, in terms of commerce, or, for example, 12% in terms of manufacture. It is really striking. So this is something we have to take a look at. In terms also of the fact that women are then so involved in caretaking activities, they have very little time to study, to get more skills, to find a job. Most jobs are very structured. You have to arrive at a certain time, leave at a certain time. And as my colleague from Bangladesh was saying, then they have to go into public transport, and then they get harassed, and then you have all the security situations. And this makes then a lot of women in Colombia really be much more involved in the informal sector. Even and we've done a lot of surveys on this, and we asked the women, so if you were to be offered a formal job, would you take it? And they go, no, I wouldn't be able to take it, because just my caretaking responsibilities, my role, which is usually assigned to us as women from birth, as if magically we would be better for it than men. And then they say, no, I would not take a formal job. So I think this is absolutely very, very relevant, and that in terms of percentages, in terms of paid jobs, it's 53% for men and only 29% of paid jobs for women. So here, and the connection that I want to do on this forum that we are at, because we cannot forget we're talking about racism and discrimination, it is that this mostly affects racialized women in Colombia. When we look at where there are less infrastructure, less services, less public policies to care for small children, the elderly, anything that is care related. We look at the departments such as Chocó, Pacífico, and the archipelago of San Andres are the places where most the women invest the highest number of hours in caretaking. And it's also the departments where we have mostly Afro-Colombian, but also raizales, which is how we call. In Colombia, we have a lot of, we cannot lump the black people all together. They have their own, each one, for example, some are auto-defined as Afro-Colombianas, others as palenqueras, others as raizales, and so on. So I cannot delve into that because the time doesn't allow, but it does mean that racialized women in Colombia do have an even heavier weight in terms of what they have to do in the caretaking economy. And if we think about the what Patricia Phil Collins was telling us in Black Feminist Thought, one amazing book that if you haven't read, I highly recommend it, published I think 1990 or something like that. She does say that there's this idea that is from the colonial times that the black obedient servant, the black woman, her reason to be in this world, and like this image and this creation, this abomination, that they are just better suited, and that it is their role to take care of the other ones. So this is heavily, very much into our culture, is something that we need to change. This is why Fundación Plan, part of Plan International, the organization I live, we basically are really, really delving into how to do projects with young women, and we're starting with girls, because this starts at a very young age, this socialization into this is what you need to do. You don't need to be prepared for a career. You need to just, find yourself a good husband, become a mother, and take care of everyone and be paid nothing for it. So we work very, very hard to give them projects of economic security for women with a very heavily gender focus. We work very much in protection against all forms of violence and in citizen participation. We really believe that, and as this report is drawing our attention and what we've been talking about, if we don't become leaders, if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And definitely we need to strengthen the capabilities of these young black or indigenous women to lead in their own communities and come up with policies and as you were saying, in terms of the budgets that are really gender specific and also ethnically logical, for them to not have to bear such a terrible heavy burden. So I think I should leave it there, but just to give you an idea, just doing a lot of financial education with a gender focus, prepare them for their job and give them skills for life, but also do a lot of life project development with them, give them ideas, help them the role models of strong black women in their communities to be visibilized, so that they have mentors, that they have role models to follow. That also really, really helps. And definitely what we want to do is also make very sure that we do that in a context that understands that Colombia has had over 60 years of war, and we have, when I talk about these black women and indigenous women, I'm also talking about the people who have most suffered the violence and the conflict in our country. They really have burnt a disproportionate amount of this war. So we also have to factor in this, that we need to prepare them. We need to understand where they come from, the terrible trauma they've been through, but how do we prepare and how do we help this Colombia to really engage in a process of peace building and reconciliation on a local level. It's not enough to sign a piece of paper that says, oh, we're in peace now, but really bring that down and generate the trust that is being totally turned to pieces during this war. Sorry, Brian. No.
That's fine. Thank you so much,
Sorry, thank you.